Ladies and gentlemen, how do you feel about adultery? This story is about such a case, betrayal of wife and friend. What could be worse? Although it has been 2 years since my experience, it feels as though it occurred just yesterday. I am convinced that my ex-partner and I could have been a model couple. But the reality was the polar opposite. The reason my story is so crucial is due to the concept of loyalty. I have noticed a decline in loyalty within relationships for some time now, and it's concerning. Despite my unwavering loyalty to my wife, she still chose to cheat on me. At the time, I was 32 and my wife was 31. For 6 years, we were happily married without any noticeable issues. Our finances were stable and we were able to afford everything we desired as long as we planned for it. Despite not being wealthy, we never had to worry about paying bills or going on adventures. My wife worked at a child clinic while I worked in fabrication, using my hands to create. She was a lively and adventurous person who was always by my side. My wife had a way of making me see the beauty in life that I often overlooked. Rather than working non-stop, she encouraged us to take annual trips, as my idea of a vacation was simply lounging in the backyard with a drink. Thanks to her, we explored new places like Vegas, Cancun, and even visited her cousin in San Juan, where I hadn't been since childhood. It was refreshing to have a partner who brought excitement to my life, even though I initially fell for her looks. She had the facial features of Luna Chaplin combined with the physique of the weather girl Terry and Noah. Our families got along well, which was especially easy since she was an only child. While going out to clubs and socializing was enjoyable, we eventually reached a point where we preferred each other's company. Unfortunately, things took a turn when my wife cheated on me and I became suspicious during one of our usual gatherings at home. Despite the ongoing epidemic, my ex and I still invited our friends to hang out with us on weekends. We would spend Saturdays listening to music, drinking, and playing card games. Since clubs and concerts were off limits, our close group of friends often gathered at our place. This had become a regular occurrence, particularly since we had an abundant supply of alcohol. However, on this particular night, after a game of spades, one of my friends challenged another to a game of Texas Hold'em against me. I had a friend, whom we'll refer to as Rome, who was eager to play a game of Texas Hold'em against me. Rome worked at the same job as another friend of mine, and that's how we became acquainted. He was the type to boast and flaunt his possessions, and we often had to bring him back down to earth. Playing Texas Hold'em was an excellent way to do this, as he had yet to beat me one-on-one at the time. We had recently learned how to play it thanks to his uncle. Although we weren't particularly skilled, I consistently beat Rome, and it seemed to motivate him. He had lost to me 7 times in a row, and during the final game, he began to talk trash. It became quite personal as he bragged about owning a better car and house than me, despite his bitterness over my winning streak. Initially, I didn't want to continue playing, but Rome insisted due to the hecklers in the group. As expected, I ended up winning twice more, leaving Rome furious. Rome insisted on playing another game, but I declined, stating that my ex and her friends were interested in playing dominoes and suggested we stop. My ex supported my decision, but Rome persisted and offered to wager $100 for another game. When I declined again, he increased the offer to $250. Following this, my friend began to taunt me, claiming it was an easy way to make money. However, I refused to gamble, as I am aware of my luck. Despite our usual practice of not betting real money, I eventually agreed to play for the wager. To my surprise, Rome won, and I ended up losing $150. He leaped out of his seat and confronted our friend who had been heckling him, gloating about his victory. This led to a heated argument between us, and it took some time for us to be separated. Following a handshake, Rome informed me that he didn't actually want the money and declined when I offered to pay him. When my ex entered the room from the kitchen, Rome announced his victory, and she appeared pleasantly surprised and congratulated him. After hugging him, she instructed us to allow her and her friends to play dominoes. For the remainder of the night, we didn't encounter any further issues, except for Rome's continued gloating. As everyone was departing, I conversed with my closest friend, Rich, in our driveway. While standing there, I had a clear view through our house window and noticed Rome engaged in a conversation with my ex. Initially, I assumed he was still boasting, but then I saw him pull her in by her waist and place his forehead against hers. After a brief moment, she retreated into the living room, and he followed her out. Rich asked me what was wrong because I was visibly bothered. However, he missed what had caught my attention since his back was turned to it. I didn't say anything and simply wished him a safe journey home. Even after everyone had left, my mind couldn't shake off what I had seen while cleaning up. I attempted to rationalize it by convincing myself that they were friends, and she was just happy for his victory. Nonetheless, given Rome's history with women, my excuse only lasted for a day. The following day I saw something that confirmed my suspicions. It consumed my thoughts. I'm not one to get jealous easily, but the unease lingered, and I needed to dispel any doubts. After we went to bed that night, I stayed awake until 2 a.m., waiting for her to fall asleep before slipping out of bed. I retrieved both our phones and took them to the living room. There, I called my brother Juan. My ex had put a lock on her phone, and I knew that only Juan could help me access it. I called him numerous times, and he finally answered, sounding irritated. I asked him for a favor, to call her phone for me. He inquired why, but I said I'd explain later. After he hung up, he located her number and dialed it. As soon as she answered, I went into her messages, and what I saw shattered me. The messages revealed that they had been having an affair for a year, and it was even more devastating than I had imagined. He sent her an intimate video, and she reciprocated by sending him a photo of herself with her mouth open and tongue sticking out. I came across 7 or 8 images of him exposing himself, and I had to quickly avert my gaze. My anger was so intense that I almost hurled her phone across the room. My world had been completely upended, and even though I was struggling to cope, I knew what I needed to do. I took some screenshots of the messages and sent them to my phone before returning her phone to the charger. I opted to sleep on the couch because there was no way I was sharing a bed with her. I was already contemplating how I could extricate myself from this marriage of betrayal. The following morning, as we were getting ready for work, my ex inquired why I hadn't returned to bed after I had said I didn't want to. She assumed I was being sarcastic, so she playfully smacked me on the head. Had it not been so early in the morning, she might have retorted with a sharp remark. Instead, she proceeded to make her coffee to begin the day. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I spent the entire day searching for a reputable lawyer. After finding one, I discovered that their services came at a high cost, but I was assured that it was the most effective way to proceed. When I filed for the divorce, I had to wait until my ex was served, and that was the most challenging part. Even though she was still in the house, she would attempt to engage me in conversation, but I struggled to respond. All I could muster were monosyllabic replies, as talking to her had become unbearable after discovering those messages. I discovered that she had been going to his place after work, and whenever I hung out with Juan, she would invite him over. Initially, she would insist that it was the last time, but eventually she began openly inviting him and texting him until he acquiesced. This was a weekly occurrence, and I felt fortunate to have caught her in the act. Now I understood why she had always turned me down in bed and made promises she couldn't keep. I was eagerly anticipating the moment when she would be served at her workplace. I was ready to confront her and let all my pent-up emotions out. I was also prepared to confront Rome for his actions. Despite my emotional turmoil, I was determined to move on as soon as my ex was served. I took the day off work on that day as well. However, my ex called me and began screaming at me, expressing disbelief that I had served her with divorce papers. I had arranged for her to be served with the divorce papers during her lunch break, and her co-workers had witnessed the event. They were the ones who had informed her that she had been served. I informed her over the phone that I was filing for divorce, and requested that she review the papers before returning home. My ex hung up, and I knew she was on her way back. Perhaps I should have had a friend with me, but I was not thinking clearly at the time. When she arrived, I sent her the screenshots of her texts with Rome. As soon as she burst into the room, tears streamed down her face as she shouted at me. Accusing me of behaving strangely and abruptly filing for divorce, she demanded an explanation. I informed her that she may have missed my message and advised her to check her phone. Despite her insistence on me telling her outright, I persisted in urging her to check her phone. Eventually, she did so, and upon reading her own texts with Rome, she dropped her phone and buried her face in her hands. She collapsed onto the couch, and it was my turn to unleash a tirade of screams at her. I hurled a plethora of insults at her, calling her a promiscuous woman in various ways, and questioning how she could engage in such behavior with my friend. She appeared stunned and kept apologizing while avoiding eye contact. I grabbed my keys and departed for Juan's house. Once I informed Juan of everything, I contacted my family and friends to share the news. I also contacted her mother, who in turn informed her father that was in Florida assisting a friend with his business. Upon sending Rome the screenshots and threatening to physically assault him if I ever saw him, he responded with a text message apologizing. Following this, I met up with my friends and informed them that they were free to continue their friendship with Rome, but I made it clear that I had a different set of values and wouldn't associate with him if the roles were reversed. They concurred and offered their support, urging me to reach out if I needed anything. My ex-girlfriend contacted me and expressed her desire to have a conversation. During our discussion, she inquired whether there was any possibility of reconciling our relationship. I confronted her about not only cheating on me but also talking behind my back. I discovered that she had been conspiring with Rome, agreeing with every negative comment he made about me and assuring him that I would never find out. She expressed remorse for her actions and admitted that while we were all together at our house, Rome had been flirting with her and constantly complimenting her physique. He had also managed to befriend her friends, and they would all hang out without my knowledge. Whenever she attended a Drake or Bad Bunny concert with her friends, Rome would be present as well. When I questioned her about this, she remained silent and simply stated that she didn't want it to appear strange. Following this, Rome began to flirt with her via text messages, and she reciprocated the behavior. On one of the rare occasions when I was heavily intoxicated, they engaged in kissing and physical contact, according to her account. One day, he unexpectedly arrived at our residence when I was absent, claiming that he merely wanted to converse. He had resumed his advances, seducing her once more until they ultimately engaged in sexual activity. I made it clear that I understood that she didn't truly love me, and as a result, reconciliation was not an option. After berating her once more, I instructed her to refrain from contacting me and to communicate solely with my legal representative before terminating the call. Fortunately, we did not have children, but the divorce proceedings were arduous, particularly due to the pandemic. She was granted ownership of our home, but without my income, it was unlikely that she could maintain it. After deciding to sell our old house, she relocated to her friend Dina's residence. Rome was shunned by my remaining friends due to his untrustworthy nature. I was content with this outcome because without either of them in my life, I felt liberated, particularly in my new rental home that I had secured for 2 years. To date, I have not received any communication from either of them. However, during a recent encounter with one of her acquaintances at a restaurant, she appeared pleased to see me. During our conversation, she divulged that my ex-girlfriend had vacated Dina's apartment. I learned that my ex-girlfriend had secured a new residence for herself recently. During a chance encounter with one of her acquaintances, she expressed her longing for me, citing her dissatisfaction with using the dating app Tinder. We both chuckled at the situation before I bid her farewell, informing her that my brother and I were departing the restaurant. I recently experienced a moment of weakness and briefly perused her Facebook profile. I quickly averted my gaze and made a solemn vow to never view her page again. My interaction with my ex's friend prompted me to share this message with you all. Be cautious in your relationships and always prioritize loyalty. It's crucial to be aware of your surroundings and the people in your life. In my case, my wife's lack of affection towards me was due to her self-centeredness. Although she was stunning, I placed her on a pedestal, which was unwarranted. Despite knowing all of this, she still exploited my adoration for her. Recalling these events has stirred up old emotions, but I want to encourage you all to believe that you can overcome any obstacle. It was challenging to endure, but I implore you not to lose sight of your happiness. End of story, friends. Cheating is always bad. That's my opinion. What do you think? Write about it in the comments. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm doing my best for you, friends. Bye-bye.